Okay. If you want to pass in one of those Gemaras, I'll take one of those Gemaras. Be careful with the coffee. You got it. Thank you very much. Okay, good morning, everybody. Okay, we're on Nun Aleph on base, 51b. Okay, the top of the page, 3 lines from the page, top of the page. The Gemara says, one of the 10 things that was stated about the kosher bracha, about the cup of wine that you're going to use for the zimun, is that it says you're supposed to place your eyes in the cup. You should look at the cup. In the cup. No sin in of bo. And the Gemara wants to understand, what is this idea? Why should I put my eyes in the cup of wine? What's behind that? We do say that before you say Kiddush Friday night, you look at the candles. It's brought down. It has a purpose. But what's the purpose of looking at the cup of wine during the time that you recite the Kiddush? So the Gemara says, Kehechi, you have it, 3 lines from the top. V'nosin ein of bo. You have it in the Gemara? You have it, Mr. Haber? 3 lines from the top, all the way on the top of the page. Yeah.
So 3 lines from the top.
Yeah.
Okay.
V'notin ein of bo. Says you place your eyes in the cup of wine. So while you're reciting the Birkat HaMazon, so the Gemara says, Kehechi de lo nasach daiti minei. In order that you shouldn't lose focus.
Why you saying
a cup of wine in your hand, right? Because the idea is you say Birkat HaMazon over a cup of wine.
You don't know.
When you have a zimun, some people do it. You're not obligated to do it, but it's definitely a very nice thing to use a cup of wine.
To the extent that you do that,
when you're doing it,
when the wine is in the cup, you stare at the wine in the cup.
Right. You should focus your attention at the wine in the cup. Why should you do that? In order you shouldn't lose focus from it.
Oh, is that right?
So that's what the Gemara. Now the question is, what does it mean you shouldn't lose focus from it? So different opinions understand that. What does it mean? Either you shouldn't lose focus from the Birkat HaMazon, or does it mean you shouldn't lose focus from the cup of wine that you're holding while you're saying the Birkat HaMazon? If I
like the idea.
What did you say, Mr. Avery?
I like the idea.
Okay, that's how some. It can be either way.
If you're saying the kind of a zone and you're not looking at something, you can't
get distracted. You're saying somebody walks in, you look up and you look at this, you're looking around the room. Don't.
You place them, you are doing by memory and so on and so forth, by rote.
But if you're focusing on the cup, so then you don't.
And the focus on the cup is nice. The wine, the concentration on the wine and that of the zone. Nice. Okay.
Right. So that's 2 different opinions. Okay. So now the meaning, it's the idea of staying focused.
But the focus on the wine. What is the merit of focusing on the wine? That helps you to focus on the kind of zone. It's very good. Focus on the wine. What is the relevance of the wines? What is the significance of the concentration on the wine? And I'm looking at the wine.
Right. So maybe it gives respect, meaning the point of the cup of wine. Actually, when you say the bracha, when you see the Birkat HaMazon on the cup of wine, the point of the cup of wine is that you are, so to speak, elevating the Birkat HaMazon. You're bringing it to a different level because you're doing it in such an honorable way over a cup of wine. But if you're not thinking about the cup of wine as if the cup of wine doesn't exist, so maybe you're not. That's not true honor to the Birkat Hamazon. You're honoring the Birkat Hamazon with something, and your mind is not there on it. So that could be the. Okay. Now the Gemara continues. We're going to have a fascinating story coming up. So Gemara says another thing, and then we're the fourth line from the top. The Gemara said you're supposed to send one of the 10 things was you send it to your wife as a matana. You send morning Morris, welcome back. You send from the cup of wine that you have kiddush, or you send from the cup of wine. You send it. You send it to your wife. You give it. You send it to your wife.
What are you sending?
The cup of wine. After you make the bracha on the cup of wine,
really?
You're supposed to give it to your wife. I mean, just like by kiddush and Shabbat, you give to your wife to drink from the kiddush and the Shabbat.
You finish the
then you say a gefen. After you say Birkat Hamazon, you say a gefen, and after you say the gefen, you drink from the cup of wine, and you're supposed to send it to your wife. She's the same way. Everybody knows on Shabbat. Everyone's transfer the wine to her, but it's interesting. You send it. It says you're supposed to give it to her in a very in a gift fashion, in a nice way. That's the language. It says you give it to her like b'matana, like a gift. And the way Rashi comments, Rashi says, right. It's supposed to be done in a nice fashion.
Instead of disregarding her and take her seriously, very
a mitzvah, the Birkat Hamazon.
To show her how you care for her, you give her, you let her participate in the completion of the
Right.
Sounds nice.
Right, and you should know the language is as a gift means that it should be sent in a gracious and elegant fashion. So right. So it has to be done in a very proper way. It's not like here's the drink. You know what I mean? Like it's done in a way that's supposed to be that also lends honor to it. If you send it right, so like some maybe Mr. Haber gave some facial motions, and you give it to like in a very respectful way.
Even today, going to a store, especially have a certain way about them. They transfer when you buy something and they give you a package that you just purchased something, and they want to give you the package. They don't just give it like this. They take it, Japanese stores, they take it.
With two hands.
With two hands.
But you understand, what you just said about two hands, we had that. That's another halacha we said that when you pick up the cup of wine, first you pick it up with two hands, and then you put it into your right hand. You don't just pick it up with one hand. You want to show love and respect and fullness to it.
Makes a very big impression on you. You buy something like that, something transferred to you like that.
In a respectful way.
A very respectful way. It means that what I'm giving you now is not, I'm not just throwing at you, I'm giving you something precious. You paid $3 for that. It's not a lot of money. It's $3, but I gave it to you this way. Wow, you really had a lot of respect for the way you gave it to me.
Very good, beautiful. So now,
always did.
Morris, you got the place?
Yeah.
Okay. Now the Gemara says, why do you send it to your wife? What's the purpose of sending the cup to your wife? So the Gemara says, you want that the woman should be blessed as a result, meaning, because you can ask the question, the husband did the mitzvah of Birkat Hamazon. What did she do here? He did the mitzvah. He set it over the cup of wine. So you want, in order that you want her to be blessed. And logic would say, I would say that it's not just that she should be blessed. Everybody who will who drink from the cup of wine will have a blessing. And the Chavetz Chaim, Okay.
She's more sensitive to it. She's never included. She's always on the outside and saying he's doing his prayers, and she's just watching, and she's not. But now he brings her into the cup, into his subject.
You can see, and the Chavetz Chaim says, not even if she didn't eat with them. Let's say you had your meal, you had your friends over, right, and you had your zimun, and she didn't eat there. Give her from the cup of wine. And if there's other guests, you should also give them to drink from the kosher bracha, like it says in the Shulchan Aruch and Kuf Sadik, that you give other people from the kosher bracha. Now, that's what the Gemara says. Now the Gemara says, and that's what it says in Shulchan Aruch. That's what you're supposed. That's what we do in practice. Right. So to send it to your wife to drink from the cup of wine. Now, Ula. Now we have a story. Ula iklala be Rav Nachman. Ula came to the house of Rav Nachman. We are now from the top of the page, for about 6 lines from the top. First word of line is Ikla with an aleph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have it? Ikla. He came to the house of Rav Nachman. They wrap bread. It's like, like a sandwich. You wrap something on the inside. They wrap bread. Ula ate with them. And because he ate with them, you would give the guests to lead in the, like the law said, you lead in the zimun, you give the guest to lead. Brichat mezona. He went ahead and he said the Birkat HaMazon. He led the Birkat HaMazon. He led the zimun. And what happened? Yov lekosa the Birchata leRav Nachman. After he said the Birkat HaMazon, and he drank from the cup of wine, he went ahead and he gave to Rav Nachman, the host. He gave to him.
He didn't give to his wife. Right.
So what happened? Amalei Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman says, pass the cup of you said the Birkat HaMazon, which is kosher bracha. Send it to my wife. Her name was Yalta. Send it to my wife.
Whose wife?
Rav Nachman's wife. The host's wife was Yalta. That was the host's wife. And the host says to the one who was leading the zimun, you should send a cup of wine to
my wife.
To my wife, meaning the hostess. She should also drink from the because I don't know about not first, but also see, it's a good question. Is it first or not? Because they ask the commentary. Right. So he says. Yeah. So it would seem the language of the Gemara is. Right. Because you said the Birkat HaMazon over this cup. You said the benching. You held the cup, and you're supposed to hold the cup throughout the Birkat HaMazon. You hold the cup, meaning you're saying the Birkat HaMazon over this cup of wine, and now you finished, and you said the gefen, and he gave, and he drank, and he gave to Rav Nachman. It's already the host got first. After the guest drank from the cup of wine, right? He gave the wine to the host. And Rav Nachman says, you should give the cup of wine to my wife. So now the question is, why doesn't Rav Nachman himself give it to his wife? Meaning, once the one who led the zimun said the Birkat HaMazon, he drank from it. Right? Why doesn't the husband himself go give it to his wife? If I gave it to Rav Nachman, so Rav Nachman give it to his wife. Why does he have to? Why does Rav Nachman? Why do you have to instruct the one who led the zimun? Please give it to my wife. Mona Yosef. That's the question of the Drisha. Morning. So the Drisha answers, the custom back then was the guest the guest that was leading the zimun, he would be the one to send a cup of wine to the wife, like we find by the Malachim, by Avraham. The angels, when they came to visit Avraham, they said, "Where is Sarah, your wife?" Why did they ask, "Where is Sarah?" We want to send her the kosher bracha. They wanted to have from the kosher bracha, the Gemara says. So therefore,
So it wasn't a question of his wife.
right.
Then we can do what we should be doing.
Right, Trent, give me some of the wine. So what happened? So Amalei. So Ula said, "Morning, Avi. Avi, you came in right on time. I mean, right on time to this new point."
Anyway, you're looking for the glass of the wine.
Yes.
Very good.
Amalei.
Nothing said.
So he said,
We are on the note.
exactly. We're getting, we're finishing today, Avi.
Yes.
Amalei. Amar Rav Nach, Hachi Amar Rav Yochanan. Rav Yochanan says, "Ein pri bitna shel isha misbarech, elo mi pri bitno shel ish." That the woman's for her to be blessed with children comes from the blessing of the husband. That if the husband, when the husband is blessed, that brings children to. It's not the wife's blessing. When the wife is blessed, that will bring children to the family. It's as a result of the blessing of the husband. Meaning to say, I would suggest the following: the mitzvah to have children, to get married, the Torah's obligation was to a man. Of course, you need the woman, and the woman assists the man in fulfilling his obligations. Therefore, a husband has to be so thankful to have his wife for helping him do his mitzvah. It's his mitzvah. Right. It's part of the obligation of getting married, to have children, and that's the man's obligation. It's not hers. Some say she has maybe a rabbinic mitzvah, but the Torah, obviously Hashem wants women to get married, but you know what? It's one of those things that God did not obligate them on a Torah level to get married. The rabbis will tell you, ladies are not supposed to be married, they're not supposed to remain single. It's not, but the obligation, the biblical law is on the man. So being that
that's because women chosen to come down to the world to help the man to complete his tikkun, because the man, without getting married and bringing a child, a son and a daughter, is not really complete 100% of tikkun. A man can be the highest level of righteous. Let's say Rabbi Akiva can be a highest level of righteous, but without getting married, he able to finish his tikkun only 50%. That's it. The other 50% is by getting married and bringing children.
right now, there are people who got married. They try to do them. They did the mitzvah of engaging and having children. If Hashem didn't give them children, they were great people. If they didn't have children, but
And for that reason also, a man,
I would suggest, because he has the mitzvah.
for that reason, a man, when he, after 5 years married to a woman, and if the woman couldn't provide him
10 years, 10
children,
years, it says 10 years, in the Gemara, 10 years.
no, I think it's either 5 or 7, 100% I'm sure, either 5 or 7, not 10 years. I think it's most likely it's 5, and if you cannot provide him any child within 5 years, he allowed to leave her without even asking permission.
Right, but what I recall, but okay, whatever, it's 10 years, but with a lot of people who in practice, they discuss this idea, but in practice, a lot of people still remain married even after 10 years.
No, of course. No, I'm telling you again, it's not 10 years, it's
as Mr. Haber
5
says,
or 7, but because in 5 years, he couldn't provide one kid, it means either she doesn't want or either she cannot.
right, okay, everyone should be zocher that their wife should be able to provide. So now, so I wanted to say, because it's his mitzvah to engage in having children, so maybe that's why through him comes the blessing of the children. So therefore, the rabbi said, I need you to drink from the cup of wine, not your wife. That's why this other rabbi said, you don't need to give it to your wife. Because why do you want to give it to your wife? So she, as a result of that, she should be blessed. She should merit to have children. If you, the husband, drink from the wine, that she's covered through you. She's covered through the husband covers the wife. Therefore, he says you don't need to send to you don't need to send. You want to send to your wife, fine. But you don't need, you should understand it's not something, let's say the halacha we said, the Chafetz Chaim says, even if the wife didn't eat with you, you should go ahead and give her to drink from the cup of wine. Let's say you had a meeting, a business meeting with some friends in the house, and the men had a zimun, and she didn't eat with you. The men ate. You should still give her from the cup of wine. That's the halacha. But according to this opinion of Ula says you don't need to go give it to her. You don't need to go give it to her. You drink. As long as you drink from it, she will get blessed through you. Your wife, just like the wife brings blessing to the house to the husband, but the blessing of children is going to be through the husbands being blessed. And that's what the Gemara, and he brings a source. But again, in practice, we do give it to the wife. He says, the fruit of the woman, which is the children, as a result of the fruit of the man. As the pasuk says, Shenema, the pasuk says, when you do the right things in life, mitzvot, you keep the Torah and the mitzvot, Hashem says, I'm going to give you a blessing. I'm going to bless the fruit of your, so to speak, of the man's stomach, so to speak. It's not his stomach, but it's called the pre. It's called the pre.
I'm going to beat you down.
It's the fruit of your stomach. The wife, the baby, is the fruit of you. That's how it is. It's the Gemara says pre-bitna. It doesn't say I'm going to bless the fruit of her, the woman's fruit. It doesn't say pre-bitna lo nema. It doesn't say the fruit of the woman. Ella pre-bitnecha. The fruit of yours. So therefore, he says, the woman being blessed is as a result of the man being blessed. And therefore, since the man is being blessed, he drank the wine, so you're good. Now, we're going to see, Ula is going to overhear this, and she's going to be very upset at this statement. Get ready. Tanya Nami Hachi. We learned it right there. Rav Nosson Omer, Minayin she'in pri bitna shel isha mitzbarich ela me pri bitna shel ish. How do we know that we're now in the wide line? Getting close to the wide, 3 lines before the wide lines. How do we know the lady is not blessed only as a result of the man? Shenema upeirach pri bitnecha. Pri bitna la nema ela pri bitnecha. Okay. So it's you, as a result of you. Adahachi, in the interim, Shama Yalta. Yalta heard what the rabbi said. She heard, Yalta is the wife of Rav Nachman, and she hears what Ula said. That Ula said that the blessing comes from the man, not from the woman. You don't need to send the woman any of the drink. So what did she do? She got very upset. Kama bizhira. She got up and her, and the osala bechamra. And she went to the storage area where they store the wine. And what did she do? V'tavra arba me'ad dani bechamra. And she broke 400 barrels of wine. I mean, that's all.
No.
Wine, and you deprived me of having a drink. She wanted the blessing, meaning the drink. I have so much wine in the house, I could drink anytime. But this wine is different. This wine is different than all other wine, because this wine, the blessing of Birkat HaMazon, which is a big deal. See, it gives us different appreciation. The blessing of Birkat HaMazon was recited, the mitzvah of Birkat HaMazon was recited over this cup of wine. By the way, that's why by Pesach, it says you do the arba kosel, you do it, you connect the 4 cups of wine with a mitzvah. So that's why one of the cups of wine that we have on Pesach at night is over the Birkat HaMazon. The 3rd cup is that we hold the 3rd cup. That's because they wanted to connect it with a mitzvah of Birkat Hamazon. So this wine, good morning, Jake. So this wine is very, very special, very special wine. So therefore, that's why I am very upset that you didn't give me from the kosher bracha, and most probably she understands that this is that. Therefore, great blessing will happen if I drink from the kosher bracha, and you didn't give me and you didn't give me from that, and maybe she feels it's not about tashchit. Maybe she feels, how could she go ahead? The commentary says, how could she break barrels of wine? She's ruining wine. I mean, you can ask that question, and how, so maybe the point is that she wanted to make this lesson. She wanted to show this lesson of how important it is to give from the cup of wine. It wasn't that she just broke she wasted wine. She took wine and one
Go
day
away from here.
and
Go.
she takes wine and she pours it out into the sink. She wanted to perhaps to make a statement that will make sure that forever and ever they'll make sure they'll give the wife from the wine.
Yeah.
It's interesting. One of the commentaries, the Ben Ish Chai and the Bnei Yoh, he wants to say, it's impossible to say that the wife of the rabbi would break these barrels of wine in her anger. It sounds like she wasn't so controlling herself. That's not the way. Imagine, think of a rabbi's wife, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein's wife, Rabbi Yosef's wife. So they didn't send her from the cup of wine. She's gonna go break barrels of wine. So again, I wanted to say, well, how was that? My answer was she did it not because she lost herself, and she did it to make a statement. And the other opinion says who wants to say that most probably she entered the room of the wine, and maybe because she was not in the proper mind frame, she slipped, or she bumped into things, she knocked things down, and maybe that's how they broke. But that doesn't seem to be the simple reading of the Gemara. So she breaks the wine. Amar Leila Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman says to Ula, now Rav Nachman says, oh, see what my wife did? Now we got to go ahead and let's send her now a cup of wine. We didn't do a good job until now.
We could have saved $400.
We could have saved 400 bottles. Let's go ahead and send her a cup of wine now. So he says, send her a cup of wine. Shalach la. And he sent her a cup of wine. And shalach la, Ula sent her, kol hai navgat brachatahi. This is wine from the barrel. That's also included, we said the Birkat Hamazon in the house. And this is wine from the barrel. We're also going to count it as wine of the bracha. Now, she's not going to buy it. What do you mean? You didn't say the bracha on this. The wine was in the barrel when you said the Birkat Hamazon. He was trying to appease her by saying that, you know what, you could go ahead and drink from the wine that we have, and you drink from that, and then things will be, you'll get blessing. Okay, they're starting. Stay tuned for after davening for her response. And we'll yeah. To be continued. TBC.
Yeah. זה גדול זה. Yeah.